Bharat gave me the best stories to, recount for years to come, because that was my first movie and we were shooting in Ludhiana in a village. And I had no idea about a big movie set. And I had not even, thought about meeting Salman Khan. And my scene was with him, and his genuine praise about my work and about my looks. And the entire, those times were crazy for me, because I was transiting from being this common man to this special person who has a place in society, a name in society. So that process was happening. So I remember that time. I cherish that time a lot.
Our guest today is a model and actor by profession. Stuck with a personal loss, there was a time when he was completely bedridden, weighed 130 kilograms, and couldn't stand up. But one encounter with his brother-in-law motivated him to change his life around. He entered the modeling industry a little late than others, but age is just a number, and the 62-year-old model has proven it. He has had a remarkable journey from being overweight in 2014 to becoming fit. Today you might spot him walking on the ramps for the biggest designers, but his journey from a man who was bedridden to being a successful model is an inspirational one, to say the least. He has worked with the likes of Salman Khan and Rajnikanth. Watch this podcast to know how you can overcome depression and how you can live your life to the fullest and pursue a career in modeling. It is my pleasure to welcome Dinesh Mohan, popularly known as the Indian Silverfox, on today's podcast and discuss with him the journey of his job. Let's hit that subscribe button and the post notification bell and get started with this inspiring episode with the inspiring Dinesh Mohan. Good afternoon, Dinesh Mohan. Sir, such an honor to have you on the Career Show. Thank you so much for taking the time out and sharing your story with people like me and inspiring a lot of students out there.
You're most welcome. Thanks a lot for having me.
So, sir, let's get started. Let's talk about your first job. So, as per my research, it tells me that you worked in the government sector at the start of your career. So, before we get into modeling, do you want to talk about your job in the government sector?
Yeah, I was in administration of, official work in Haryana government. And basically, I was mostly posted in the education department. So basically looking after the administration of colleges and universities in Haryana. So that is what I did for a long time, say around 24 years. I was into that. Yes.
That's super cool. So, before we get into the modeling career, I know this is the story that inspires so many, and I want to get into that. Do you want to talk about your transformation from that government sector job to modeling? I know you went through a lot of things during that. Would you like to talk about
Right.
that?
Yeah, sure. Why not? If it can help others, I'll surely talk about it. I had very negative life circumstances for a very long time. So my focus was, all the time shifting from job to personal things, and, how to fight back and how to tackle all those issues that were bothering me. So at a certain point of time, after a personal tragedy, I thought it's better to give up on the job, because I wasn't able to give that much time and energy to a government job. And since I'm a very honest person, so I thought, let me leave this and let me find some peace of mind first, and then decide what I would do in life. So I gave up the job in 2004 at the very young age of 44 or 45. And my entire career was, in fact, in front of me, but I had to give that up. So that shocked me a lot. That put me in a lot of state of depression, and I had lost, so much of other things in life, that I started slipping into depression in 2004. So that is when I, my real fight with myself, with my demons, with the circumstances actually began. And it went on for a very, very long time. And that time took a lot away from me. I lost my mental health. I lost my physical health. And I lost my ability to walk at a certain point of time. So for a period of around 5 years, in those 10, 12 years, I could not walk properly. And that further, made me depressed. and I was on my bed for a very long time and could not do anything without others' assistance. So all these things, and then the weight, of course, started piling up, and it led to obesity and again loss of health. And I grew up to around 125, 130 kgs during that time. So everything was, it was a very tough and challenging time for me. In hindsight, yeah, it's a story. It's a story in hindsight, because thank God that I'm able to sit here and recount these details, and I'm alive and, trying to help others. So thank God for that. Yes.
I mean, so just listening to that, I know the amount of strength it takes to openly speak about it,
Yes.
let
Correct.
alone inspire others. So first of all, thank
Correct.
you so much for saying that. I really appreciate you opening up, and honestly, kudos to you, salute to you for
Thank you so
getting
much.
past all of that.
Thank you
I
so much.
know how stressful mental health can be.
Yes.
But let's talk about you entering modeling after that phase. Do you want to talk about how that entire journey took place from being in that situation and actually starting this new life in modeling? How did that entire process look like?
See, when I decided that I need to reclaim my life and, fight over my mental demons and my physical handicaps, I have to, get over and, or, adjust, compromise with them and start a fruitful life. So I went on a diet, on a fitness journey, and started losing the weight. And this started in 2012, 2013. And
Mhm.
by the time 2014 came, I had already lost around 35, 40, 45 kgs of weight.
Mhm.
And I was a very happy soul, because I started walking again. I joined a gym. I started swimming again. I started driving again. Everything that I thought I would never be able to do in life again, I started enjoying that. And this thought of becoming a model or an actor never, ever crossed my mind, because I was so full of trying to live a happy life. And honestly, I didn't even know that at the age of 57, something like modeling also exists for people of my age group. I had no idea at all. But then, my physiotherapist, to whom I used to go for a lot of issues, he suggested that I have seen a transformation in you. And from this fat person who could not even walk to now this, a fit person who just runs up the stairs and comes to my clinic for his rehabilitation. So why don't you try modeling? So I thought, are you crazy? Look at me. I mean, who would, because we have a notion about the field of modeling that
Mhm.
it's
Correct.
dominated by youngsters, dark heads
Mhm.
like yourself,
Mhm.
tall and slim people. So I doubted that. But then, as destiny would have it, the offers started coming. I was called for audition somewhere in an agency in Delhi, and I went there and somehow cracked that audition, and the journey
Mhm.
started for me right there. But let me make one thing very clear here, that it does sound like a cakewalk, but it
Mhm.
wasn't. It wasn't.
100%.
For a person who was homebound for 10 to 12 years and had so many mental issues, to open up in front of the camera and in front of so many people who are trying to shoot you, and come across as this, example of health and fitness. And,
Mhm.
you got to have a certain swag about yourself to come across as a successful model. So
Mhm.
it was a very, very challenging thing for me
Mhm.
to do, because they needed me to stand for a long time, even stand in the
Mhm.
middle of a cold pool in
Mhm.
winters. And
Mhm.
we had to shoot at times in almost zero temperature outside in the open fields, because
Mhm.
shoots have people have crazy imagination when they shoot. So
Mhm.
it was very tough. It
Mhm.
wasn't easy as it sounds.
No,
Yeah.
100%. I'm sure it would have been a long journey as well. But you just
Correct.
mentioned that when your physiotherapist told you about pursuing modeling, you were like, "Oh, have you gone crazy?" And that thought never even came to your mind. So, do you
Yes.
want to take us through the first modeling gig? How did the opportunity arise? And how was that interview audition process for you?
See, all these things have started. They have started having my faith again in God and destiny and things like that. I had heard that God starts opening a lot of doors when you push a few doors yourself, but I didn't think it will happen in my case. But when he talked about modeling, this physiotherapist, when I came back home that very day, my sister told me that she had sent my photographs to an agency just out of a lark, just to see if people like me and if it starts a new career for me. So I was angry with her. I told, what nonsense is that? I cannot, because I have so many complexes even now. But she insisted, and I was taken to that audition the very next day to that agency in Delhi. And it was shocking for me to see all these 6 feet plus boys and girls and totally fit and putting on jeans and t-shirts. And here I was in my pants and, loose shirts, because I still thought I was fat. And I wanted to run away from there. But then my brother-in-law, who had accompanied me, he said, no, you have to go and at least take this audition and then see wherever it takes you. So that is how I took my audition. It came as a signal from God, because the moment I stepped in front of the camera, trust me, a new personality, shone through. I couldn't believe that my reactions to the instructions being given, that pose like this, stand like this, would be so natural. And, it was like a signal from heavens. So, and that day, I've never looked back. And I do now think that I was born to do this. Though I came across this very late in life, I was almost 57, 58, but I was meant to do this.
Well, as they say, age is just a number, right? So
Correct.
you have a lot more time to do it. But you
Yes.
said this was not an easy process for you.
Yes.
There was a
It
lot
wasn't.
of fights that you had to go through to become this
Yes.
model as well.
Yeah,
What has been
right.
your biggest strength throughout all of this?
My own resolve to reclaim my life and to prove to myself and not to others that I can, because I had started doubting myself so much over the years. I had written myself off as a failure, in my mind, that nothing will happen to me now. I cannot do anything. So this thing of proving it to myself that I can do it. I still remember that for my first outdoor shoots, it was in January again, because my first shoot was also in January. So the same year, we had to go to a place called Haveli near Karnal, if you are familiar with it. That's an old resort kind of thing, with old work charm. And they told me, the agency told me, that the cab would come to pick you up at 2:30 at night, and I could not imagine that, because and I needed a special pillow to sit on, even so that my back is all right, because I had a lot of issues in my back. So I was very embarrassed that I'll be sitting in the cab on that special pillow, and everybody will notice that, and they'll think we've got this sick person on shoot, and they'll stop calling me. So I went through all those issues, and of course it was very cold, and we reached at 4 in the morning, and there was no time to sleep at all, and you have to shoot the entire day. And it was a wedding shoot, and I came across as very royal, and everybody was very, very impressed with my work, because I wanted to prove it to myself that I can do this. Yes.
While you say this has been your biggest strength, you just mentioned that inner criticism that comes in when you're like, oh, you need special services. But
Yeah.
also, if I let go of the inner criticism, there is so much outdoor criticism as well, like people judging you
Correct.
all the time. And that
Correct.
happens with youngsters. But I'm sure being a model at the age of 57, 58, that would have increased. And I think it's an inspiration the way you've dealt with this. So do you want to talk about how you dealt with this criticism? Because I think it's completely inspirational.
Somehow, I don't know, somewhere deep inside me, I knew that I have it what it takes to be a model. I was thin, almost size 0 at that time. I'm 6'1" tall. I have this aura about me, and I'm very daring. as far as clothes are concerned. You can make me put on anything, and people will feel that I was born in these clothes. I have that kind of attitude. So I always knew. So I just gave myself a little more time, because youngsters can be very cruel these days.
Exactly.
And they can be very unkind to people of a certain age, because they have accepted people of their own age as competitors and threats. But when they realize that the competition here is from a person who is almost double our age, and all the attention is being given to him, and he's grabbing the spotlight because of his natural aura, so they become very threatened and insecure. So, but then later on, people also realized, and many youngsters realized, that here is a star who can help us also grow. And so things became easier for me. Yes.
So, leaving aside all the criticism and all the hard work you've done, you're in a really happy place now. You are very happy
Yes.
with modeling. So, do you want to talk about a day in your life or a day in a model's life, obviously pre-COVID?
This, I don't know. I've forgotten those days of what was life like pre-COVID. It was crazy for me pre-COVID, and I was throughout traveling and sleeping in flights and sleeping in cabs and new hotels all the time, and trying to get familiar to the new environments, and camera angles and makeup and clothes and trials and fashion shows can be crazy. It's actually gut wrenching, and there's a lot of things going on. And I had become used to that lifestyle. And somewhere from inside, I started wishing, I need a break, okay, because this is becoming crazy. And I needed a manager at that time. I needed a team at that time to sort out my schedules. And I was thinking, come on, you are such an educated man. Why do you need people to organize your professional life? So somewhere God, I don't know, by default, this lockdown started happening, and I was made to sit at home. And there was a lot of time to rethink about my career. My focus shifted to social media, Instagram and Facebook and all that. And luckily, in my case, my following grew like anything, because I have a genuine, pure, honest story about my life.
Correct.
And people started following me. So a lot of work started happening on Instagram as collaborations and paid collaborations and barter collaborations. And so even now, I've just won over COVID, because I was suffering from COVID for the last, say, 25 days. And I've been working consistently from home on products that are being sent to me. And, I think of the ideas myself. I've become very creative. And around 2-3 months back, I also launched a production house through which we are making other models launch themselves by giving them portfolios. And we've shot we've shot a music video and things like that. So I'm trying to branch out now also, and only with the intention of helping people to make a career here in the world of modeling and acting.
So I'm glad that you've completely recovered, and I hope everyone is staying at home as well. So thank you
Yes.
for bringing that in. But you mentioned that pre-COVID, you were sleeping in flights, you were just going from one shoot to another, you were going from one gig to another, which seems to be fancy, but it is it's a very hectic schedule.
Yeah, yes.
How did you deal with that hectic schedule? I don't think people understand the amount of work that goes into such a hectic schedule.
Yeah, it does. And one becomes irritated in personal life, and you have to control your, emotions a lot when you're doing so much. See, 2018 and 2019 were very good for me. That is when I was offered Bharat with Salman Khan and Sant Ki Aankh with Tapsi and Bhumi. And I'm so sorry, the lady Chandro Tomar, the Dadi, on whose life this movie is Sant Ki Aankh, she passed away 3 days ago due to COVID. And, then Darbar was happening, Happy Sardar was happening. And I had taken a lot of TV commercials down south. So I was constantly flying between Bangalore, Kochi, Mumbai, and Delhi and Lucknow. So these were my, and Chennai. So all the time I was trying to catch flights, and I had started snapping at people on airports if they came up to me and pointed out that your dressing sense is crazy, uncle. You should dress your age. So I started snapping back at people that mind your own business. Otherwise, earlier, I was a very cool and calm person. I never reacted to comments. So I realized that I need to slow down because it was affecting my own temper, So, yes.
So I guess it's important for people to realize that if you have a really hectic schedule, it's okay to slow down a little and take a break so that you calm
100%.
yourself.
Yes, but this industry is crazy, when it offers you works, it offers you work like crazy. Abhi, 2-3 days back, I was reading somewhere in a newspaper that senior age models are not paid more than $25,000 a day. And I was laughing from inside because I have overturned everything that all the notions of this. Today, I'm even more highly paid than the youngsters who are present on the sets, and and I have never stayed in Mumbai, so I am a total outsider to the industry, and I have cracked it on the sheer basis of my talent and my will to work hard. So I've cracked it.
Since you've spoken a lot about the challenges, the criticism, the hectic schedule, do you want to talk about a few benefits of being in the career of modeling and acting?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank God for that. I never earned the kind of name and fame as a government servant for many years that 6 months of being a model and actor gave me. So many opportunities to meet so many new people, so many events to go to, so many countries I traveled. And the fame is crazy, the money is crazy, and the lifestyle, that everybody aspires for. Even people who tell you that what is Bollywood, we don't like Bollywood, are also dying from inside to be a part of Bollywood. So this industry is crazy, and it gives you a lot in return. So thank God that I became a part of this industry, maybe in the evening of my life, but I'm absolutely enjoying being a part of this industry.
Your story somewhat reminds me of the movie Lage, Munnabhai, and in particular, in that story, the name of the bungalow, Second Innings. Would you consider this part of your life to be a second innings?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And all this happened because I decided to take on the chances and not be scared away from the kind of risks that this industry needed me to take. I could have refused to go and stand in the middle of a cold water swimming pool in December. And I could have said, see, I'm a senior age citizen, I'll fall ill, I'm sorry, I won't do this shoot. But, and for one of the scenes in a South movie, I was made to act. In fact, I'm murdered in the movie, and then my dead body is, put on a stretcher, and I was pushed down a ramp with nobody holding on to the stretcher. And it was a big, huge, steep ramp, so I've done things like that. And I thought, okay, this is a second chance. I should make the best use of it. And maybe this is a second innings, but maybe the last innings that are being offered to me. So I don't shy away from any kind of challenge that is thrown in my way.
No, that's so great, Theo, when you hear the stories. And that's why my next question is about, do you want to talk about one of your most important, most memorable, or most challenging, whichever you deem fit, like one of these most memorable modeling gigs that you've done, one story that you want to share?
Yeah, there are many, lots of them. But my best memories are from, of course, Sant Ki Aankh, the movie Sant Ki Aankh, and of course the movie Bharat. And of course Happy Sardar, which was with Javed Jafri, which is a Malayalam movie. But Bharat gave me the best stories to recount for years to come, because that was my first movie, and we were shooting in Ludhiana in a village, and I had no idea about a big movie set, and I had not even thought about meeting Salman Khan, and my scene was with him, and his genuine praise about my work and about my looks And the entire, those times were crazy for me, because I was transiting from being this common man to this special person who has a place in society, a name in society. So that process was happening. So I remember that time. I cherish that time a lot.
Any challenging incident during this entire modeling gig that you remember and you fought through?
Yeah, yes. For my very first ramp walk in South, because I had heard that South is a very big industry and they pay you a lot. And of course, I was very curious to make a name for myself down South. So this fashion show, big fashion show for a very big brand, was happening in Kochi in a resort. And I was the opening model. And there was a nail, lying on the floor backstage, because backstage can be crazy. And I was supposed to walk bare feet on the ramp, because it was in a traditional attire. And the moment I stepped on that nail, it pierced through my foot, and there was a lot of bleeding and all. And I just, pulled that nail out, and I thought, I cannot lose this chance, because the opening model in a big show and all that. And with a bleeding foot, I walked on the ramp and didn't care. Later on, of course, I had to take painkillers and injections and things like that. So that was challenging, because I was already nervous that this is my first gig down south and it should go smoothly, and this thing happened. I hurt myself, but it's okay, part of the game.
After listening to that story, what advice would you have for someone who is just starting off in this industry? What would you tell them? Like, I think the story down south itself is so inspiring in the sense that, in spite of getting hurt, you continued. What
Yes.
advice would you give to someone who's just starting off and is struggling?
See, whatever you see on screen or on ramp is only for a few minutes or a few seconds, but the effort behind that is a long, tedious process. So be ready. Just don't be attracted to the glamour, but be ready to give it your best shot and do a lot of hard work and do a lot of compromises as far as your comfort zone is concerned, because you have to come out of your comfort zone a lot in this industry. And inside the industry, nobody is a star or a newcomer. You have to work as hard for every project, even if you are a star. So this industry it requires a lot of hard labor from you. So be mentally ready to enter this.
Sir, I think this has been a great podcast. You've taught us so much, not in terms of how you started your journey, but also in terms of your second innings. We have learned so much from that. I have
Right.
one last question for you, and that
Yes.
is, what is one advice you wish you had received when you were starting off your career, or what is one advice you wish you could tell your younger self?
Oh, I see. My whatever my life lessons are have very little to do with my career as a model and as an actor. This is just a part of my life, but this is not my entire life. I have learned to be joyful in life overall, irrespective of what I am and where I am, whether I'm successful or not, because you get only one shot at this life, and it's better, always better to lead it happily and joyfully. So, career or no career, please enjoy your life, try to live it to the fullest. And I guess this is what I should have learned when I was much younger. So, but anyway, it's never too late. Better late than never.
100%. I think that's a great note to end on. I've learned so much personally. I actually had shivers when we started off this podcast with your inspiring story. So thank you so much for sharing that as well. It's been an honor to have you on the Career Show.
You're most welcome. God bless you.
I hope you enjoyed this week's career discussion. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support means a lot.